Security teams have too many sources to search, but not enough time. The best offenders know the right time to automate a task to stay one step ahead. Polarity enables you to automate research to reduce busy work and better defend. Thank you for joining our short training on using the Polarity Exploit Finder integration. The Exploit Finder integration automates searching the internet for exploit code. Whether you want to search a CVE, technology, or even your least favorite adversary, this short training should cover it. We believe automating busy work, such as internet research, both speeds up analysis and increases quality of work. Why you might want to use it? Well, security practitioners in general have too many places to search without the luxury of time. Relevant exploit code can be in many locations, and it takes time to search them all. So wouldn't it be nice if you could search them all in parallel and at the touch of a keystroke? With Exploit Finder you can, and from any application. Let's see it in action. Here, while on the Microsoft website, I can select the CVE I want to search and hold down Control-C. If on a Mac, Command-C. You can see Exploit Finder in orange, 55 possible exploits. If you click on the orange tag, you can dive into the results. Looks like results in Rapid7 and GitHub. Click to pivot into the resource. If Polarity can help you find exploit code in seconds, it's probably safe to assume the adversary might already have access as well. And the more examples, options, and tutorials that exist on the internet, even an unsophisticated adversary should have no difficulty exploiting. And if you are on the red team side, you're one step closer to having what you need to simulate the adversary. For CVEs, you also have the ability to select a list or body of text, and Polarity will parse out the CVEs and automate multiple searches. Again, you hold down Control-C or Command-C if you're on a Mac, you will see the results stream into what we call the overlay window. Click to pivot into any of the resources. Here we take a look at a SharePoint remote code execution exploit. Or in this case, an Adobe Flash use after free exploit. Now, what if you don't know the CVE, or you are just researching? You can search a company or technology name as well. Just type it in the search bar at the top of the overlay window. Here we can see 6 possible exploits found. And again, we can pivot in and take a look at that code. And all other available exploit options, in this case pulled from the Vulnerability Lab website. Maybe you are on a pen test or capture the flag competition. You run a port scan. Feel free to search ports or service names. Maybe you'll get lucky and you'll find a Metasploit module for exactly what you're looking for. In this case, I copy Postgres, paste it in the search bar at the top of the overlay window, and no shortage of exploits available for just general Postgres. But here I take a look at the top one and see there's a Metasploit module available. From here I'm going to open up Metasploit and give it a go. Like I said, maybe I get lucky. I tell it to use the Postgres payload, select the target, show my options, fill in the remote host, the vulnerable system, make sure it went, and type exploit. Who am I? Postgres, and there's my ls. In this example, I just add a version number to demonstrate how you can be precise in your search and go look, specifically for an application such as Postgres 8.2. You can also search by threat actor name, and maybe you'll learn something you did not know about an adversary you are tracking. This is not always going to generate a result, but when it does, there is a good chance it is worth taking a look at if you expect to be defending against that adversary. Why not leverage the analysis of my peers who may have already done work that I can take advantage of and be one step ahead? Here I'm just showing that I can search the alias Fancy Bear instead of APT28 and expect to see some results as well. Or in this example, an entirely different actor, searching hafnium instead. And I'm quick to find some of the recent exploits that were leveraged by the adversary. Now I'll show some other ways you can configure the Exploit Finder integration. So you click the gear icon in the top right of the overlay window, scroll down to the Exploit Finder integration, click the gear icon to its side, and here's where you can change and adjust settings. One of the settings is the data that it recognizes, and so you can see there's 3 types here: CVE, a custom EXF, and custom alt text. I shut off the custom alt text. This will allow me to run the Exploit Finder integration in highlight mode if you're on the Enterprise edition of Polarity. So here, now I'll show how you can invoke Polarity's Exploit Finder with a command. So you can type exf : and the thing you want to search, VNC, and find exploits this way. By doing this, you're able to trigger Exploit Finder to run when you specifically type EXF versus all the time. And now what we can do is have Polarity actually highlight based on CVEs. So you can see here a subtle orange highlight, and we're able to give that visual indicator that there's exploits for, not all of the CVEs on my screen, but the ones that have that orange highlight. Here I'll pick a fun one to take a look at. And you'll notice here's arbitrary code execution in the universal Turing machine. So this is going back over 50 years, an exploit for Turing machine. Original by Minsky. And now what I'm doing is I'm actually enabling a whole bunch of other sources, Threat Intel, Yara Finder, YouTube, and showing what it'd be like if you're running Exploit Finder side by side with other sources. So here I go back to that original CVE we searched, and you can see how the experience is a bit different. Now I'm able to pull in intel like threat intelligence from Mandiant here, or X-Force Exchange, and I'm able to pivot between not only threat intelligence, but the exploits themselves. So here's an example of Yara Finder, which we'll do a future training on, or a general Google search. Intel 471. YouTube in this example. So maybe we want to learn more about the exploit, either what makes it, or I should say the CVE, what makes it vulnerable, or the exploit, how would I actually go about exploiting this vulnerability? And we can educate ourselves right here from within the overlay window. Maybe I want to take a look at LinkedIn resources and see, how my peers are talking about it. Or look at US CERT and see what CISA has to say. Or maybe I want to take a look at assets that I own and see if there's any specific assets I might have that are vulnerable to that given CVE. So side by side, we have the ability to see not only the exploits, but also additional intel. Here I'm going to turn on 2 more sources, Flashpoint and Twitter. and run a secondary search. And start taking a look at tweets on a given CVE. Or maybe I want to look at finished intel reports or dark web posts. In this example, it's in Cyrillic Russian here, so I'm going to use Google Translate to do a translation on the fly and do a pivot over to be able to read that. And here we'll show similar functionality, second order search, and enrichment, pulling in all sorts of threat feeds, LinkedIn, Twitter, etc., YouTube, triggered off of a different CVE in this example. In this other configuration, I'm showing how you can go in here and adjust whether we support fuzzy matching or not. So by default, it's an exact match. But if you check the box here in the configuration, you will get the ability to do fuzzy matching. This is a feature that is probably not deployed on your account now, but will be released soon. And with fuzzy matching, you will be able to, kind of free form type in, and it's going to give results relevant. So exploits for OWA as an example here. And so now we're getting kind of general, vulnerabilities and exploits. Not only this first one here, but additional ones such as a brute force utility. So not your traditional CVE oriented exploit. This additional configuration I'm showing is how you can actually select the sources. So you can remove sources or add sources here from a predetermined list within the Community Edition version, and you're able to adjust how what results you're likely to see first. So here I had removed GitHub as a source for Exploit Finder, and I will run a new search to show, and we'll search SolarWinds this time. So we have 29 possible public exploits on the SolarWinds side. You can see GitHub is not in the list of sources here that showed up in the first 10 results. Rapid7, ExploitDB. But even then, I can still come in here, click the additional search options. This will run a secondary search with GitHub included, and now we just pulled in a GitHub result. So even if you tell Polarity to not show a given source in the first pass, you can always go in and run that search again. And in this last example with Polarity's Exploit Finder, we're showing how you can search the author's name and potentially find other exploits written by the same author. Thank you for joining this training. If you haven't already, download the free Polarity Community Edition at polarity.io.